Help stop the spread of COVID-19.
The announcements echo in Union Station, usually one of Toronto's busiest subway stops.
Please wash and sanitize your hands frequently and avoid touching your face.
Now filled with signs to keep a safe distance. Easy to do during a lockdown, but coming out of one? Scott Haskell is the man trying to come up with a plan.
The real tough question is, when are they coming back and how many of them are coming back and what do we have to do to plan for that?
Haskell is part of the Toronto Transit Commission's strategic team, tasked with predicting the rate of passenger return and managing the public health risk that comes with it. Problem is, there are so many moving parts.
We're carrying about 20% of our total ridership today, but if that increases to 30%, 40%, 50, 60, 70, it's not actually possible to carry people with that much space between them on a large, functioning, busy transit system. So this is a fundamental issue that we are wrestling with, both here in Toronto, the TTC, and around the transit business in Canada.
The lockdown plan has been simple in comparison. The TTC is disinfecting its vehicles more often, testing its employees regularly for COVID-19 symptoms.
Here you go.
Thank you.
And providing them with protective gear as well. It's also enforced distancing protocols, including maximum bus loads of 15 people, all at a staggering cost. The agency is predicting a $300 million deficit by September, and getting back on track during a pandemic is even harder.
Right now, it's a treading water situation, and it won't be able to last for much longer.
Karen Stintz is a former Toronto City Councillor and former TTC chair. She says the TTC's recent ask for financial help from the province and the federal government is about survival, now and going forward.
Even though ridership may be low, the TTC is still such an important piece of infrastructure for the city, and it's needed for people, essential workers, for people who don't have cars. And for as people start to move around, it will be critical that they have the option of the TTC, because in some cases it may actually be even safer than taxis or Ubers.
But while the TTC can't afford to run on empty for much longer, planning to move more commuters safely is complicated. A lot depends on plans that are still evolving, from how or if schools will reopen to how quickly or slowly office towers fill back up. Toronto's downtown core alone accounts for thousands of transit users.
Let's figure out how we move forward, and let's...
Jan De Silva is president of Toronto's Board of Trade. She's had conversations with all levels of industry. They're all grappling too.
It's just that there's so many unknowns, and I think when we went into this weeks ago in March, we all had the mindset that we'll just wait for this to be over and then we can go back to normal. What we know now is that's not going to happen anytime soon. So this is why I think we're going to see businesses continue with work from home arrangements until there's different protocols in transit to help and mitigate the need to have social distancing.
For the TTC, that presents a pandemic paradox. With 70% of its operating revenue coming from the fare box, it needs more passengers to remain viable, but can't run more buses and trains to maintain the distancing practices in place now.
No transit system in the country has the capability to run a lot more service than they were running just before the pandemic. There are some situations where you could limit the number of people entering the station, but fundamentally, an urban public transit system is not one that you can do a lot of controlling of who enters it.
So then what?
So then we default to customers must take responsibility for themselves and their safety, should wear a face covering, and as best they can, they should try to keep away from other people on the system.
And all that still depends on how many people will actually use transit or continue to stay away. One thing for sure, it's another guess. Joanna Rimiliotis, CBC News, Toronto.